Elle, jump in and tell us about your amazing NDE.
Well, I wanted to approach it differently than other podcasts that I've been on because some of the things, some people have reached out because some of the things that I have mentioned before are coming to fruition.
So, hi, Soul Family, and welcome to my channel. I'm your host, Haji, and this is Amazing NDE Downloads. Our guest today is Elle Serumaga. Elle, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Perfect, perfect. So, I'm excited about this one. I'm going to let Elle just jump straight into her NDE and the download she received.
Okay. So, in discussing what's kind of relevant with what's going on in the world right now, um, in my situation, I became really sick in 2015, and I did not realize that I was as sick as I was. But when I was admitted into the hospital, something happened there, and I went into anaphylactic shock, and then went into sepsis, started losing organ function, and then was induced in a coma for about 2.5 months. Before all of this, I didn't know anything about NDEs. I was not in that world. Um, didn't know much about the topic, what people experience, or nor had I heard much about people having that type of situation or that type of experience. And never thought that I would be in that particular situation. Um, but when you're in there, I learned that there's several types of deaths. When you're in a coma, or when somebody is close to death, you go in and out of this reality. You travel and you come back. You travel and you come back according to what your soul feels like you need or what you want to do. And when my organs started shutting down, that's what I did. I traveled into a different reality. I learned that there were other dimensions. I'm trying to remember if I even really thought much about other dimensions beforehand. I'm sure I probably did periodically, just because, we kind of talk that way. In general in life. And but what happened with me is that I met three guides that showed me different aspects of the nature of reality, our soul purpose, and what we're supposed to do while we're alive, and even why we came here, because at the time I was not really happy with my life. Um, of course, I didn't do this to myself, but I was very disenchanted with the world. I felt like I saw a lot of corruption. I saw a lot of different things in the news, and I think I was very empathetic to that, and I wondered why things had to be so hard. Why was life so tough? Um, and so one of the guides showed me the nature of various different aspects of our soul in different realities. One of those things was the fact that we're connected to everything in the universe. And, sometimes people are like, oh, yeah, we're all connected. And you just think, okay, you know, that's really nice and it sounds nice, but I was shown from like a physics perspective that we actually are all connected. We're connected genetically, we're connected energetically, and we have the ability to influence energy out in the world and influence the planet. Um, I think one of the most relevant things I've been hearing a lot about today are these telepathy tapes, which I haven't looked at them and I haven't um, read about them or anything. But and I will do that, but from what I learned was that we have incredible power within ourselves. We have, we're kind of a universe within a universe, and we have the ability to influence the reality that's around us and the collective reality. So, for example, um, you know how we're here and, we are the people on this earth for 100 years. If people 100 years from now look back, they'll see our pictures. Oh, look at what they used to do. They used to use these things called iPhones and, things like that. So we're the group together that are here together for 100 years. And all of the things that we experience are in this particular reality that we are influencing to happen. So my guide showed that particular guide showed me how we can, on a regular basis, tap into the ability to um, hone in on that reality and influence it. And the way that we do that is through meditation. Meditation is kind of like putting gas in the car. And meditation is kind of like, you know, um, giving back out to the world and to the universe what um, what you're able to give in your, in from your perspective and what you're able to influence along with the collective. So I was told that I needed to make sure to meditate every single day. And I meditated every day before, but now I make sure that I definitely don't miss a time meditating because it's kind of like you're feeding that collective energy as you're receiving from it. The other thing that guide showed me was that there are different realities and dimensions and that we are fractalized. We're a frequency and we're fractalized in other dimensions. So Haji, just like you, there's another Haji somewhere else that may be a corporate CEO that is, you know, kind of like that journey, that part of you that wants to be a corporate CEO is experiencing a journey of, maybe having a dilemma about whether to continue to be a CEO or do something artistic that they love. So we have all of these versions of our soul in different dimensions. The reason why I mention that is that I noticed that since I had my NDE, I've seen articles periodically because I subscribe to science magazines and science newspapers. I see periodically an article, oh, scientists are now claiming that there are several dimensions and our consciousness can access any place in the universe. So, so I find that fascinating that those types of things are confirmed from a scientific perspective. Another one of the things that the guide showed me was that we're not alone in the universe. I sat on my NDE. I didn't really talk about it for about 7 years because I felt weird. Like, I am scientific oriented. I'm also spiritual, but I'm also, you know, because of that scientific mind, I'm always wanting to kind of um, make sure that I'm interpreting information properly. So I sat on it for about 7 years and finally decided to start sharing. And I shared in, let's see, this is 2020, 2022. I decided to just take the big leap, put on my big girl pants, and say out loud, yes, we're not alone in the universe, which some people would believe that, but some people definitely would not. And that we are hybrids of other ETs, that we're collective. So I find it interesting about what you said about your O negative blood type and even O blood type itself. Um, my NDE inspired me to study genetics. because of some of the things that I was told on the other side about our genetics. So we're hybrids of other ETs, and we're beloved by some ETs as kind of like cousins. And we are also, some of our genetic material is even needed or harnessed by other ET races. Now, not all ETs are benevolent, but the majority of them that know us, are around us, are. Um, there is at least one group that I um, was made aware of that is not, but so far we're very protected. So we're recording this at a time where people have seen a lot of orbs, seen a lot of different things. They're calling them drones instead of UFOs, whatever. I think it's important to know that, and I said this last year, that we were going to have major contact in 2025. It's looking more like that's going to definitely happen. But I would say that when that does happen, because it is going to happen, that we remember that, not to be afraid, and that majority of the races that know us and are interested in us are benevolent, and they also are concerned about us. They have guided from afar, and they're concerned about our well-being, and they don't want us to destroy ourselves. So, and they don't want us to destroy the planet either. I was taken in part of my NDE to another planet, which I never heard of before. Uh, the type of beings that I saw, but they were very translucent, and they glowed from inside. So, um, some of them would glow like a different color would like emanate from under their skin, but they were extremely white and almost translucent and had like kind of a glow. And I was in a city, it looked like a city, and I was off to uh, in a corner with my guide, while my guide telepathically was saying, look at this, look at these beings. There are beings in other, parts of the universe, and they are, they're here. And it was just kind of like it was kind of like going to, um, it was just kind of like going to a situation where you could observe things, just stand off to the side and watch. And so that's what we did for a while. And I was distorted when I was there. Like their planet was a different frequency. So when I looked down on at myself, I was kind of distorted. Like I didn't look the same as I would on this planet. I was kind of disjointed, like I was disabled or something like that. And it really, I kind of asked about that, after the fact. And what I got was that what happens in the world when there are people here that um, they have some particular issue, like say cerebral palsy, that their frequency is different. And then, I have read different types of religious um, books before, but in regards to the Bible, I kept on here, thinking about, there's a scripture that says, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the kingdom of God." And when people are meek, it means that they're of the highest frequency. And I started thinking about people with cerebral palsy, or some type of debilitating disease, and realized that their frequency does not match the frequency of this earth. and therefore they have presented in this particular manner on this earth, but they're very, beloved people. They're very like they're very close to God in regards to, their frequency and their being. And that was similar to what, when I was on that planet and I was disjointed, that was the only thing I could think of was like my body looked similar to that. And I saw some of the ET beings kind of go by, and some caught a glimpse of me, and I got the impression they knew about humans because none of them looked surprised when I was there. So um, that was an interesting experience. Um, Before getting there, I was floating through space, and I saw a nebula, and I saw uh, again, when I looked down at my body, I had no body. I was just an orb. And so I got a chance to see what it was like to be the soul, what the soul is. Like, for example, you, Haji, when your soul leaves your body, you're not your face, you're not your body. If there's essence of your body left, that means that you are kind of in between worlds, like you haven't let go of the body part of yourself or let go of something. But if you are an orb, that's your spirit. So our spirit and our soul is really in condensed into an orb. Um, and that's what we really are. That's where our energy is. So I feel like I've been rambling, so I feel like I need some questions or something.
Okay, no, no. I mean, yeah, we can do it that way. It all depends on the guest. So
Yeah.
if you need interaction, I will give you interaction because
Yes,
I
I
have a
do,
lot of
because then
questions.
I'll go from here to Texas to
And I
Alaska.
love it. I love it. And you're soothing when you speak. So I'm just like, go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. So the questions that I have so far. Okay, so you said we're really connected from a physics perspective. A lot of NDEers, a lot. It's like one of the main parts of an NDE at this point
Mhm.
say that they feel or see or experience or know that we are all connected. This is
Yeah.
a big thing, right? But
Hmm.
I love that you got it from a physics perspective. Did you have a scientific background prior to this
Not at
NDE?
all. Not at all. Zero. I wish I did, because going back, I would have gone to school for some type of science um, right away. So,
I
yeah,
am in shock. I'm in shock right now because when I hear your other interviews, it sounds like this is what you do for a living.
no.
So now my question is, because usually when they're giving you experiences, it's based on what you can understand and digest. Why was it so scientific for you? Why was everything kind of geared in that direction? What do you think?
Well, I'm Aquarius, so there's that.
Okay. Yes.
Um, I think also, so because I'm kind of like, I'm open, but I'm logical, the only thing that I could grasp to prove the ethereal side of things was science, as well as when I was on the other side, I was explained scientific things. When I came back, my mind was sharper, and I feel as though I gained some intelligence. So I was able to, I don't know, I just flipped to understanding scientific things, and I decided I wanted to study to be a geneticist because of
Mm.
it. I learned about physics. I learned about, different aspects of physics, frequency. So all of the things that I learned on the other side, I realized in life coming back and study and reading and watching were scientific. So
Mm.
it just kind of by, attrition, I just became like, I learned all of these things.
I love this. I love this because there are some indie ears who have literally said that they had this experience because no one else, because they were in a space, and whether it be the color of their skin or how much money they had or what
Mm-hmm.
they, whatever, that they
Mm-hmm.
were in a space to get this message as opposed to somebody else, that people would listen to them. Like I've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that with you was like, okay, you're not scientific. We need you to promote these scientific ideas. We'll just help you.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give you a boost, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Love that. But did your personality change drastically? Like, was there a time where like family and friends were just like, who is this new Elle?
I've yeah, I've lost several friends. Some of them by choice, and some of them because they just couldn't handle the new me. So it's not it's a hard process to go through. But then I also learned that a lot of people, when they have a major health crisis and when their whole life changes, their body, their mind, that's part of the process that people leave, or you have to leave people because
Mm,
you go through a big shift. So I don't take it as personally anymore because I realize it's just a part of a shift, and it's actually something good because it means that I've grown and developed as a person.
yes, and don't take it personally because like you're one of those people I'm just watching. Like, I want her to be my best friend. I want her to be my best friend. You are cool, okay? Just to let you know. So it's, good
Thank
riddance.
you.
But all right. So the other question, because my mother had an NDE when she had me, and
Oh,
um,
wow.
yeah, and she mentioned during her second, like she recently had some health scares, and we got her through it. But she mentioned something that a lot of other NDEers say as well, is that she felt like she took something on from the other side. Like she didn't have a full NDE, but she did feel like something came with her. And I've heard of piggybackers. Do you feel like at any point that change or that switch had to do with something else, a higher part of you, or something else coming in, or was just a natural switch?
Yes, and I let me tune into something really quickly, and then I want to ask you something about that. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Um, what I just got was that she didn't bring something in or something attached to her. She let something go that she had been carrying for a long time, and so therefore it felt different to her. Um, I was she extremely different after having you, even though I know that you were just being born, so you may not know how
I
she was
don't know.
before. But
I'll ask her though.
there's what I got was that there's something she let go of that has made her life and perspective different. And that's actually what happened. And it's something that she still doesn't understand what's going on fully, but it's something that she should delve into also, that something was actually came in with you, not something negative, but there's something with you. Now I want from a that's from a spiritual perspective. Now I want to ask you from a scientific and genetic perspective. Now, the spiritual, and I'm going to reference the Bible because I'm familiar with that
Yeah,
more
yeah.
than other spiritual texts, but I'm not denouncing other spiritual texts.
Mm,
When two people come together and they form a child, then they exchange. Well, the Bible says God has unified them. Okay, and they're together. From a science perspective, it is genetically fact that when a woman and man have a child, DNA information is exchanged and comes from the man that the woman gets and carries with her. Okay.
mhm,
So that's scientific fact. So that backs up the spiritual texts that say that genetic code of information exchange, and then she carries some of that genetic material, and that genetic material is in you. Now you're O negative.
mhm,
O negative, well, negative rhesus negative blood type is associated with hybrid or alien DNA. Okay. So, um, if she almost died, it could be because, especially O negative, sometimes the mother can reject the blood type. And if you were O negative, it could have been causing an issue with her physically, because when mothers or women tend to reject that blood type,
Mhm.
and have issues with either miscarriage or, possible miscarriage. They usually have, like, sometimes have pregnancy complications, if they carry to term. So that being said, um, the what came through you, but it's not negative. It's just the hybridized aspect of you. And since, are you the firstborn child?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a genetic fact that the firstborn child leaves some of its DNA in the mother for years or even decades to come. So if the mother has a sibling within that period of time, the sibling will have the firstborn and the mother's DNA. So it's not so much that something came in and there was something evil or whatever. It's not evil. She gave a part of herself. She let go a part of herself, that
Mhm.
that you were the one that carried something through. And she's in a very special place, energetically, and that I don't know if she harnesses it, but if she doesn't, she can really tap in and harness that. And you are very unique and special, from the perspective of bringing that, whatever that was in, that energy in, and having that negative blood type as well.
Oh
So,
wow, she's gonna love to watch this. Because she had a quick, she left her body and she saw Jesus, and she said at first she said it was a hippie because she didn't know how to describe the woman, but then she
hmm
said it was like an Egyptian, she had the Egyptian headdress and the neck thing, whatever. So some form of woman, which I assume was maybe Maria Mag. Like I have assumptions that it might be
hmm
his partner, because it seemed like they were together. And he
hmm
just said, "Oh, you're not done yet." And he pushed her down a slide and back into her
hmm
body.
hmm Yeah, so I can mention what happened with me is, when I was crashing, and crossing over, I saw Jesus as well. And I saw Jesus as a light body form,
Mm.
uh, and I was told the same thing, it's not your time, you're going to go back, etc. And my guide was um, kind of holding my hand, or kind of like, comforting me throughout that time. And I've come to learn that when you have an NDE, everybody, for those of us that see Jesus, we see what's the representation and the presentation of Jesus that we're supposed to, that, either we connect with, we understand, and because Jesus is everything, is in all, and is all, is an extension of God. So we're each going to see Jesus in the way that we're meant to, for whatever message we're supposed to carry.
Yeah, I mean, for her, she saw him in the traditional sense because my grandmother was so extra Christian, so she saw him as the
Uh-huh.
white, the white guy. But
Okay.
the woman next to him was the one that looked Egyptian, like she
Oh,
had some
interesting.
color. Yeah,
Interesting.
and then I've learned things about Mary Magdalene possibly being Ethiopian. Like there was a woman who like,
Really?
yes, when I heard that, this is a woman
Interesting.
who like her whole life is about researching Mary Magdalene. So when she said that,
Mhm.
I was like, now that changes everything. Like,
Well, what I learned is there's so many things about our genetics that we've been told that are not true. And it was deliberate because it took away our personal power. It's kind of like telling a child, that comes in and says, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" "Oh, I want to be Superman." It's kind of like telling the child, "That's ridiculous. You can't be Superman." Superman
Mm.
doesn't exist. Superman is a man, first of all. Secondly, Superman is a character and it's not real. Why don't you be a plumber instead? That's essentially what's happened to us in regards to our genetics and DNA, that we've been told these lies and stories that take away our personal power. And I'm not just talking one lineage of people, I'm talking about all of us, really. Caucasian, Afro, Indigenous, Latino, everybody. Um,
Yeah.
we've been told lies about ourselves.
But okay, so this is a question I was going to ask. Who is telling us to lie and why?
It's more of it's a antichrist energy. And what I say by that is it's anti the representation of the Christ consciousness. So if you think anti the representation of the Christ consciousness, what is Christ? Christ is love. Christ is, you know, connection, beauty, power. So what's the opposite of that? Fear and hate. So different people have presented in this world, in this dimension, that have created narratives which suppress all of that. So it's various different people in various different, um, positions, various different backgrounds, sciences, whatever, that have kind of gone along with or helped to twist a narrative, which, is away from the original, kind of like the King James Bible. King Henry created the King James Bible. Why did he do that? Because he wanted to divorce his wife and have he wanted to be justified in marrying another person because that was against what the people believed in according to what they were taught about religion. So he created his own Bible. That's
Wait, he was straight? Because I heard he was not straight. What's going
I
on?
don't know. I don't know. But
Okay.
that's antichrist, that's creating, something that's pulling the power away from people in order to satisfy yourself, which
Hmm.
is selfish.
Now, my question, I mean, my questions are all over the place, but I have to ask this
Mhm.
next question. This negative, because you've mentioned this before in other podcasts, that we are not living in the plot that we had already set when we came here, that something twisted the plot, right? And it goes into, like you said, that antichrist energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is this something that, and I mean, this is, I don't know if you would know the actual answer, or if it's just something that you can give me your take on it, but does the actual creator of all, God, is this something that was done purposely as a way of challenging us or having this experience? Like, is it something that is ultimately part of what the whole plan was? Or is it really a big mistake, like this big error code that just kind of got, like this virus that came in?
It's more error code.
Mm,
We were given free will from the very beginning. So we're the Nephilim, okay? And we were given um it's kind of like let's see, I'm trying to think a metaphor equivalent. Okay, a couple. They have known each other for just a couple of months and they're teenagers. Let's say they're 18 years old, just starting out in life. Met, happened to fall in love. Oops, they've only known each other a month and they're pregnant. Well, that's not really great. That is not the best scenario. It would have been better that that did not happen. But they decide, you know what? We're going to stick it out together. We're just going to create a family here and we're going to do our best and we're going to move forward. They do that, they move forward. 10 years later, they're still together and their children are, older. It's kind of like that type of situation. It was an error that was turned into a blessing and kind of a, you know, the narrative was changed with us. Because of free will, we have opportunity to change the narrative all the time. That's why it's important for us to stay close to God, and it's important for us to stay meditative, to harness that energy, and not only absorb that energy for ourselves, but give it to others to empower others so that we're collectively doing that. Because when the narrative gets changed, then we get really off track as a group of people and as a species. So that's essentially what happened, that because we had free will, that meant that we had the free will to do what we should do, but also the free will to be off track. But at any point that you're off track, you can always get on track by a decision. So we've had plenty of opportunities to make a decision to be on track. And that's why when we meditate every day, that's our daily decision to say, you know what? I know how things feel, I know how things look, but I'm staying on track. I'm staying in, in the collective. I'm making a decision that I'm not going to freak out and run off right now. I'm going to I'm going to
I'm the
harness
queen of that, by the way.
I'm going to harness the good energy. I'm going to center, be still.
Hmm.
Mhm,
So I definitely want to get into the meditation. Like that's going to be a whole section, but I think before we get
mhm,
there, I still need more. I need more
mhm,
information.
sure.
So
Mhm,
since you started to go into evolution, the biggest question I have is, do you agree with Darwin's theory of evolution? And if you don't, can you just kind of go into what you think, other than us being seeded by, well, not seeded, I think you said just hybrids of
mhm,
certain alien groups. Um, is it all alien, or are we also part of whatever was here on this earth, on this particular planet? And then in regards to, I'm losing it, in regards to evolution, because to me, okay, so kind of for going from that into like what you're saying with us needing to work together, I feel like the biggest thing that keeps us behind is the fact that there's so many differences and there's people who can't get past those differences. But we also came here for just that reason, right? Like we are one being that decided I want to have all these different experiences. So it's
mhm,
just kind of like this really weird catch 22 where it's like, okay, I went to have this experience, but then in having that experience is stopping us from moving forward because we think we're so different, you know?
mhm,
It's weird.
yeah.
So
Mhm,
my question then is just like, okay, so where did like the different races come from in your perspective? Because that's really one of the biggest issues that we have on this planet is just the difference in the cultures and the races. And that's like a nonstop thing. It has not ended. It's been going on for some time, you know?
mhm,
Yeah. So a lot of questions right there, but just,
mhm.
just speak to all of that.
Okay. So, okay, so from what I gather of the first question, do I agree with Darwin? 100% no. Um, so basically, Darwin was of a different time, was of a different way of thinking at that time. From a scientific perspective, it does not make any sense that we started as apes and that through a very short time, if you look at it, it's actually a short time versus what the time that it should have taken for us to evolve. That even the timeline doesn't make sense. So I do believe that there were that our species started out, that way, but we didn't evolve that way, meaning that we had some intervention from outside geneticists, higher intelligence that knew how to snip and cut our DNA. There's some things that I learned. If we had time to the science aspect of our genetic code, it is very, very clear to any reasonable geneticist, there is no way that we are all just evolution. There are things in our DNA, code in our DNA, that We're clearly not Homo sapiens sapien. And we're clearly not just there's even a portion, I won't go into all the details right now, you know, people can Google it for themselves, where our genes just stop one place and code starts another place, where that speaks to an intervention. It doesn't, that's not an evolution, that's a switch. So it's very clear that the evolutionary story that we learned in school is not concise. So that's how I feel about that. Um, Now the other part of your question, those were a lot of like
Wait,
questions.
and I want to add a little
Mhm,
something to it. It's going to be
mhm,
really kind of controversial, but
mhm,
it's something I've been thinking about. Is it possible? Because for most people, if they're not thinking about the whole monkey thing, and a lot of that's racial, like they try to
mhm,
put that out there
mhm,
because, all right, we
mhm,
know that. But say we follow the idea that the races is more of a mutation than an evolution with the races, that you go
mhm,
to a colder climate, you get
mhm,
less melanin, you get, lighter, et cetera, right? So that's kind of a lot of people kind of generally believe is how the different races started to create coming out of Africa, that theory, right? Is it possible? Because like from on the other hand, when you go into the UFO and alien world, we talk about all of these seeding, aliens, like the aliens who are seeding or who are part of us, the 24, I think, different types of alien DNA that
mhm,
the human has. Is it
mhm.
possible that the different races came from different ETs creators?
That's